What's good, everybody? This is John J Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with another rebuild here in NCAA 14 using the college football revamp, of course. And we are out here using the 2021 rosters, and we are going to rebuild Arkansas State, partially because you guys wanted it in the community tab. You have spoken, and we are going to be rocking with them. Arkansas State in real life had a really tough season, but that being said, though, we got a more renowned coach to work with. We're working with Butch Jones, who's down here in the Sun Belt, so we're gonna see if we can go about reviving his coaching career, and we'll see if we can get Arkansas back up on top here, not only in the Sun Belt, but let's also see if we can get them to a national championship game. Either that, or we get fired and fail to challenge. Be a miserable failure. You can roast me in the comments if I fail this. But that being said, if you're excited about this Arkansas State 5-year rebuild, then I need you guys to do me a favor. Smash that like button. Hit subscribe as well if you have to be brand new. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. First, checking out the roster for this Arkansas State squad. Now, here at Arkansas State, seeing as we do not have a ton of talent, unsurprisingly, we have a little bit younger of a roster. I do like some of the players that we have on this team. So we do have Lane Hatchard, for example, 82 overall guy, got some nice mobility, somebody that we can build around in this rebuild episode. Then we also got a really nice freshman wide receiver, Corey Rucker, 81 overall, true freshman as well. He's our best wide receiver. We're going to be going to him quite a bit. Definitely have a few other 80 overall guys. So we definitely have something that we can build off of. And this is also a really young roster. We only have about 8 to 9 seniors on this team. So, you know, not a lot of seniors to work with. It's a younger roster. And you're going to also love the pipeline states that we start with in this rebuild. So not only is our roster young, but we also have so many pipeline states that we get to work with to start this rebuild. That's because Butch Jones, he has a really high recruiting level, so that's something that we get to work with right off the jump. I mean, look at the pipeline states that we have. Obviously, we got Arkansas, but like much of the Southeast is considered a pipeline state for us. Missouri, Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, we got Mississippi, Tennessee, Bama, Georgia, and Florida. So we got a lot of pipeline states to work with, so I'm really excited about that. And you know, we can definitely use that to our advantage because there is a ton of talent here in the Southeast, you know, particularly in Florida, in Texas. That's going to be a huge advantage for us as we try to get some high quality players into our program. So before we get into any of the simulating or anything like that, this is the schedule that we have for season 1. Now, as part of the rebuild challenge, whatever schedule we get, that's what we're rocking with. I do not make any changes. So we start off with a home game against FCS Midwest. Do have a bye week. Then we have our first Sun Belt game playing up against Troy. Following that with 2 road games against Memphis of the American and Missouri of the SEC. Then we get into the meat of our Sun Belt schedule, playing App State, Raging Cajuns, who will probably, either them or Coastal Carolina, they'll probably end up winning the Sun Belt in year 1. We'll have to wait and see. We do also play against South Alabama, Louisiana Monroe, that's one of our rivals, Texas State, Georgia State, and Georgia Southern, before we close out the year playing against the Chanticleers and that 22nd ranked team in the country. So definitely going to be a really interesting season 1, and we'll have to see what ends up happening. But let's see where we're projected to go in the Sun Belt this upcoming season. So last thing before we do some simulating here in year number 1, this is actually the conference outlook for us here. And listen, there's 10 teams in the Sun Belt right now, and we're not very highly regarded. So we're only ranked 7th out of 10. So not supposed to necessarily finish with a really high record. They're saying maybe a couple of wins for us here in the Sun Belt. But other than that, we should be struggling. But that being said, I'm looking around. We do have one of the more talented teams on in this conference, I think, at least on the offensive side of the ball. So let's see if we can go ahead and prove some people wrong. I'll see you at the end of season 1 with an update for you guys. So guys, we made it through season number 1, and look what we end up doing. We end up finishing 10-2, 7-2 in conference play. There was actually a three-way tie for the top of the Sun Belt Conference. It was between us, Georgia State, and the Ragin' Cajuns. But look what we did on the schedule, man. Took care of Troy. It was a little spotty at first, and then we also lost 2 games in a row. We lost to Louisiana Lafayette, lost to App State, but we wrap up a 6-game winning streak, and I guess that does mean that the conference championship title does come home to us. We at least get a share of the Sun Belt. So for where we were supposed to be picked, we were picked to go 7th in this conference. We ended up finishing at the top in pretty solid conference this year. 7 of the 10 teams in here ending up going to at least make a bowl appearance. We'll have to go ahead and check out what bowl game we're probably going to go to. So it does look like we are currently projected to go to the RL Carriers New Orleans Bowl. And we'll be playing a solid team from Conference USA. We'll be taking on UTSA, who is 7-5, but they are better than us on paper right now. Now, they do have us across the board with the exception of the turnover differential. That's probably what has done such a great job for us, is that turnover differential, taking good care of the football, that kind of stuff. That's probably why we're a 10-win team this season. But yeah, let's go ahead and check it out real quick. Let's see if this is actually the bowl game that we're going to for sure, or if there's somewhere else that we're going to end up going to. Alright, so it does actually seem like we are going to the New Orleans Bowl and taking on UTSA for sure. So definitely excited about that opportunity, playing against another conference champion, because UTSA, they actually did end up winning Conference USA this season. Just checking a look at UTSA's schedule, they're coming off pretty hot as well. 4-game winning streak, beat Old Dominion in the conference championship, 138-28 there. So gonna be a really exciting game. Both us and UTSA is on a really hot streak, so you already know what time it is. We gotta go on the field. We're gonna watch this game in person. We're gonna simulate it, with the simcast, and see how we end up doing in our bowl game. Alright boys, so we are here in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, man. I am so excited about this bowl game, man. Always, one of those bowl games that, one of the better slates outside of the New Year's Six. As we get on the board first, man, get a touchdown on the board, but we got to deal with McCormick of UTSA. He's probably going to be the best player on the field for not only their team, but for both teams on this field. But close game right now. We do have an early lead, up 17-14 right now. But UTSA, man, them boys can play. Not taking them for granted whatsoever, as UTSA does take a lead here in the second half. We're now down 21-17, but we get that touchdown right back. Got a 3-point lead. Hoping for another touchdown there. Didn't happen for us. And now we're putting our foot on the gas pedal. Should be able to pull away, but there's been some crazy things that happen in the NCAA 14 sim, not only on my channel, but for other channels as well. And we do end up winning that New Orleans Bowl here, beating UTSA by a final score of 38-28. Now we take a look at the team stats real quick, and we were prolific on the offensive side of football. Had nearly 600 yards of total offense. Couldn't get much going on the ground, but passing more than made up for it. We threw the ball 68 times in this game. That is absolutely bonkers. That was pretty efficient with it. I guess under 50%, but 515 yards. It means we had a lot of yards in this game, right? We did throw an interception, but we did win that turnover battle once again. UTSA, they put the ball on the ground twice, which we did end up recovering, and we did also win the time possession as well, which is a really big deal for us. Now looking at our stats for our guys, Lane Hatcher was really good, 32 for 68, so less than 50%, but again, 515 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. Rushing game, we did see Marcel Murray get into the end zone, but he was held in check for the most part, only had 18 for 37. Now for the receivers, we got a ton of action, and in the final collegiate game, Dahu Green absolutely went off. 13 catches, 232 yards. You cannot make this up. He did not get into the end zone, no. Jeff Foreman found the end zone. He found that thing twice. And then we also had Reed Tyler find the end zone as well. He ended up with 5 for 66. Defensively, we were led by Joe Ozuga. He ended up with 13 tackles. T.W. Ayers ended up with 10 in this game. Now, we did not really get to the quarterback in this one. We only had 1 sack the entire time, and that was to Jeff Mario Brown. He ended up getting a sack in this one, his only TFL. We did end up with those 2 fumble recoveries, though, both by Denzel Blackwell and Caleb Bonner, who coincidentally also had the forced fumbles. So, definitely interesting to see. Led to a big win, and we'll finish the year 11-2. Alright guys, so we end up finishing in the top 25 thanks to that win. We are now 21 in the nation in the final AP poll, so a really good year number 1 here for Arkansas State, but I'm really curious to see if we had anyone in the top 5 of some of these major statistical categories. We'll go ahead and check that out real quick. And I don't think we had anyone on the offensive side of the ball, but we did on the defensive side. So T.W. Ayers, who had a really big game in the New Orleans Bowl, he ends up finishing 3rd overall in solo tackles. He made 52 of those over the course of the season. Anyone else on the top 5 list? Fletcher was close. He ended up with 6 interceptions on the year. Look at McNary of Central Michigan, though. 11 INTs on the year. That's absolutely insane. And we'll go ahead and see if there's anything for kicker. No, we do not. So, hey, really good year, man. Not a huge statistical year for anybody outside of our defense. Really, defense did a really fantastic job this year. So, that being said, man, I'll go ahead and get into this offseason. We'll see what's shaking as we get ready to build off of his success going into year 2. Alright, so we start with the players leaving here, and I'm looking around and we don't have a ton of seniors that are leaving the program. Dahu Green, though, you know, that huge game that he had there at the end of the year, that put him over 1,000 yards, and I mean, that's going to make him a 7th round pick, so we do end up getting a pro in our first year. Now, we do have a few guys that are wanting to leave in through the transfer portal, all of which for playing time. I'm going to try to get, these guys to stay. Oh, wait a minute. We might actually have a chance with this guy now. Let's see. Can we get him to stay? 40 tackles? No, we do not end up getting him there. Want to at least try to keep him. He's leaving too. And then he's probably going to go, ain't he? Oh, hang on now. He's up to a low. We got a chance. 20 catches. No, we had a chance. But we will end up losing a few guys to the transfer portal. So, going to have to replace them. Thankfully, I'm going to have a really good recruiting class, I think, coming in, to Arkansas State as well. As for our coordinators, we will have one new coordinator joining the Arkansas State's staff. Harley did leave for a new job, so now we have Spencer Nowitzki. He's going to be taking over one of the better defenses in the Sun Belt. Only allowed 20 points a game. That's 2nd in the conference. Huge reason why we ended up doing what we did this year. But we do at least get our offensive coordinator to go ahead and sign an extension. So at least we do have that working for us. So while we do end up losing a few players through the transfer portal, we do end up getting 2 huge guys to come to Arkansas State. Got Tate Williams, who he played a little bit his freshman year, 2 pancakes, 1 sack given up, 75 guy. And then we also have left tackle Jalen Gurf as well from Port Nice, Texas. He did not play. He was redshirted this season, so of course, without any shadow of a doubt, we are going to be going ahead and taking these guys onto our team. 2 quality offensive linemen joining our program. So we jump into off-season recruiting. We do have 7 scholarships that we do have to work with, but that being said, I really wanted to just focus in on 4 guys in particular, because even with the transfer portal, we didn't lose a lot of guys, so I don't need to use all of our scholarships. So I wanted to focus in on quality, and I think we got some quality people that I want to go after. First and foremost, got to go after Aaron Rodgers. Yes, same name as the guy of the Green Bay starting quarterback. This guy is from Kentucky, though. We found him late in the process. Decently mobile, has a solid arm. 84 throw power, 83 accuracy. Could be a very good quarterback. Definitely very aware. Seems like we're the only ones that offer him a scholarship, but just in case, I'm putting $5K into him. Another player that I wanted to go after is 4-star middle linebacker Scott Johnson. 16th guy in his recruiting class at the position. Definitely seems like a really good fit for us. Good speed, 82 speed, has some solid abilities, doesn't really have any weaknesses in his game, definitely somebody that could see the field early. And, we have a really significant lead. Ole Miss, FIU, and Southern Miss did offer scholarships. Now, 2 other less notable players that I wanted to go after is Tyrone Dougherty. He's a 3-star defensive tackle. Solid guy, 69 overall. Nice. Not quick whatsoever, but he can do a really good job of rush defense, and that would be really good for our defensive front. And then the last player that I'm focusing in on is Jason Campbell. This is more so that we can maintain that Louisiana pipeline. It is something that we are at risk of losing if we do not end up getting this kid. Right now, we are in a recruiting battle between us, Tulane, and Louisiana Lafayette. Now, for some of these other guys, love to bring them in, but, I'm going to focus in on what's best for our program. And if some of these guys want to come in, cool. If not, my heart's not going to be broken. So I'll go ahead and sim to next week. See how we did on signing day. Alright guys, so we do end up getting 2 out of the 4 guys that we wanted to go after. Aaron Rodgers and Scott Johnson were huge pickups for us, so we're able to bring them down to Arkansas State. But Troy is going to end up getting Tyrone Dougherty, and then Jason Campbell, we end up losing him to Tulane. Also pick up a commitment to Ross Black, and I don't know if we picked up any more commits. Looks like we only signed 3 guys, but we did at least end up signing the top class in the Sun Belt Conference, so we end up winning the Sun Belt on the football field, and then outside of the football field, we also ended up, winning within our conference. And we almost end up with a top 25 class. We ended up signing 5 4-star guys in total, 9 3-stars as well. So a very, really good recruiting class. I mean, check out this recruiting class that we were able to put together. Just the sheer talent that we do have on this team. Chris Brown, 4-star. Todd Simpson, 4-star. Keith Randolph, 4-star. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers and Scott Johnson were late adds, but like this defense, man, we picked up a lot of impact players, I think, in this recruiting class. And, the offense, is going to get a little bit better. Definitely youthful on that side of the football. We could do some special things here in season number 2 if we get a couple of things to go our way. Now, as we go ahead and progress ourselves through the position changes, we do have one athlete that we do have, Pierre Weber. We'll go ahead and see. Look at that increase, 76 at running back. Okay, I'm definitely down for that. Could actually go a couple other positions. I'm going to put Pierre Weber at halfback, so that's a really big signing for us. Actually, he ends up stepping in as the second, it's probably the 3rd string guy. We'll see what Isaiah Abuke ends up doing, but probably someone that will get a red shirt. But that being said, definitely a future starter here at Arkansas State. Now, a couple other changes that I wanted to make on our offensive line is I want to go ahead and move some of these lesser right tackles over to center, because if you can see over at center, we only have Ethan Miner right now, so not a lot of depth there. So that's my bad on that. We're gonna move Kyle Kelly, I think, over to that center position. He actually gets bumped up to a 66. And then Ryan Brigham, he's a 59 overall. But after moving him to center, he moves up to a 61 as well. So at least we get that a little bit, taken care of. Actually, you know what? Nah, we'll go ahead and keep Brigham at, we'll put him at right guard. I think that'll be a little bit better of a spot because he's not that quick. So yeah, we'll have it like spread out a little bit better just to make sure that we avoid that, having a walk on our 70-man roster. Another position change that I think I want to make in our 4-3 scheme is that looking at over at left outside linebacker right now, not really liking what I'm seeing, and Scott Johnson's a good look. I think I'm gonna start him. But Dave Sparns, I want to get him on the field as well. So I'm going to bump him over to left outside linebacker so that he can get more playing time instead of backing up Scott Johnson. Now, as we go about getting into training results, we got a few guys that are going to be potential NFL prospects. Right now, Lane Hatcher could be a potential starter, but look at James Blackman. He's also a 90 overall as well. So an interesting little battle here at the quarterback position. Probably going to stick around with Lane Hutcher because he was our starter last year. And for the most part, I mean, he did lead us to 11-2. Can't really complain about it. Corey Rucker, though, he's going to be special, I think, for us. Potential 99 guy if he stays all 4 years. But I'm thinking after season 3, he probably declares for the NFL draft. Rest of the team, however, looking pretty solid, getting a little bit better. I think our best overall was an 82, and definitely getting some more depth, and it will definitely help that we put together a really good recruiting class for this season. But because we did end up bringing in far more guys than those that actually left our football program, we do have to go ahead and make a few cuts, and I usually like to cut from the bottom traditionally. Now, that being said, gonna be a lot of like these weaker freshmen getting cut. John Wright, though, JUCO sophomore, 58, we can't have that on our football team. Ryan Brigham won't be able to make the team as well. We'll go ahead and get some of these 62 overalls up out of here real quick. Still gotta make like 3 more cuts. I think I'm gonna cut Tylen Doss. He's a sophomore. He just ain't got it, man, at the end of the day. And then to round it out, I think I'm gonna cut oh no, that can't cut any corners. But William Williams will get up out of here, and then Martin Lawrence will he'll go ahead and he'll be the last guy that ends up getting cut. And this is our final 70-man roster. This is what we're rocking with. We got ourselves a nice little squad, man. Pierre Weber actually drops to like a 5th string, so he's definitely going to get red shirt. Let's see, you got a good receiving core, like 4 deep. I'm liking that. Offensive line is going to come around. The offensive line, I think, does need some work still. I think that's the weak spot of our offense. Defensively, defensive line looking really good. Chris Brown's probably going to start for us right away. Linebacker core definitely pretty young, so that's going to need some tapering with. And then our backfield, defensive backfield, it's going to be okay. It's not going to be great, but we do have 2 really good quarterbacks, and we can make something shake with it, man, for sure. But before we go ahead and jump into season number 2, though, let's take a look at some of the guys that we're going to redshirt. First and foremost, we are going to redshirt Aaron Rodgers because he's going to be a 4th-string quarterback. Then we're also going to redshirt both Azubuike. He's a true junior. He'll be starting in year 3. And then also Pierre Weber as well. He's also buried on the depth chart. So, they're going to both get red shirts. And then the last red shirt that I wanted to do was Mario Macklin. He's going to be important for us in the future, but right now, he's the 5th-string guy. So I'm going to go ahead and redshirt him as well. Taking a look at our custom schedule as well, we actually start off with a home game against Appalachian State. They were one of our 2 losses last year, and then we take on FCS Midwest as well as San Diego State and Arizona State, a top 15 opponent in non-conference play before we get into the rest of the Sun Belt schedule. Coastal Carolina, Georgia Southern, South Alabama, and then we finish off with 5 straight road games. Louisiana Monroe, Georgia State, Troy, Louisiana Lafayette, and the Texas State Bobcats. So not insanely tough opponents, but that means that we have to get our recruits in early and often if we want to have another successful recruiting year. So real quick, before we do some simulating for season number 2, this is the conference outlook for the Sun Belt Conference. And even though we come in as the technical defending champs of the Sun Belt, not a lot of belief in this, man. We are picked to pick 4th this year. It is higher than last year, but definitely a wide open conference. Definitely seems like one of those conferences where really anyone can come out and win it this year, man. So real excited to see what we can do here in season 2. We have a really good offense, 90 overall, 83 defense to go with it as well. One of the best teams in the Sun Belt Conference. Let's see if we can go 2 years in a row with double-digit win seasons. Alright, man, so here we are at the end of season number 2, and we actually take a little bit of a step back. Now, last year at this point we were 10-2, but this year we're 9-3 to wrap up the regular season, and it's a tough pill to swallow, man. We had the share of the championship last year, and that simply didn't happen this year. And what's crazy about it is if we won this game against Texas State, we would have brought home the Sun Belt Championship, because Troy, they end up winning it 8-1 in conference play, so they should be a 2-star program, to be honest. And yet here we are. If we would have won our game, we beat them, so the championship would have came to us. So, and this is also in a year where the Sun Belt was not as good. We lost to Texas State in a close one, lost by a field goal there. And then we also took an upset to the, Louisiana Monroe, our Sun Belt rival, our main rival for Arkansas State. They beat us in overtime, so that definitely ruined our chances. But we could still go to a really solid bowl game. We had a good season overall. Started off 3-1, lost to Arizona State, solid Pac-12 squad. Then we rattled off 3 straight wins, lost to our rival, and then win 3 more games, then lose to Texas State close. So no blowout losses for us, so that's really good to see. But just gotta get better at closing out those key games, because right now we're a good program, but we're not a great program. Hopefully we can change that in recruiting. But even though we do not get to go to, or at least win our conference championship this season, we still get to go to a nice bowl game. We're going to the Citrus Bowl down in Orlando, Florida. So we are really excited about that. Going to be taking on Ball State. I think on paper we should match up pretty well with them, but you know, nothing's decided on a piece of paper. We still got to go out and prove it on the field. By the way, guys, if you are really enjoying this rebuild here on College Football Revamp, do me a favor, man. Smash that like button, hit subscribe if you had to be brand new. But with that being said, I'll see you guys on the field for the Citrus Bowl. We'll see if we can go 2-0 in the bowl games in terms of this rebuild for Arkansas State. Alright, boys, so we are down here in the Citrus Bowl, and they're actually going to be kicking off to us to start this game. We'll see how this turns out. We are heavy favorites here, since you saw the ratings between us and Ball State. We have a much better football team here, and it's showing here early. We're up 14-0 already. Make that 21-0. Oh boy, it's turning into a slaughter down here on the field, man. It's not looking good for the Cardinals whatsoever. I mean, thanks for playing, but we're just built different here at Arkansas State. As Ball State does end up getting on the board finally, there is that. But look at this score. It is 50-7 here, and we just got done with the first half. Like, it is turning into an absolute slaughter fest. 64-7, 71-7. Oh my! Somebody hide the women and children. I'm surprised. We do have our backups in the game, but even then, it's just 85. 85-7 right now. Are you serious right now? Are we going to hit 100? Are we going to see 100 in a bowl game? I mean, we're have to be closing in on the record. I guess we do pump the brakes a little bit towards the end. But, yo, we went 85-14, my guy. Like, we gotta jump into the scoring summary real quick. This is absolutely insane. So, we won 14-0 in the first quarter, which, I mean, it is what it is. Nothing too out of place. But look at this second quarter. We put down 36 points in the second quarter. What do we see? I got 1 touchdown, 2, 3, 4 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns, I think. Am I counting correctly? Just wait a minute. 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I'm showing 5 touchdowns. We missed an extra point, but we did hit a field goal as well. So I guess that's how we ended up getting to. Oh, we missed 2 kicks. Yeah, so that's how we got to 36. And then third quarter, 121-0. At that point, we had our backups in. And then fourth quarter, we won 14-7. We pumped the brakes just a little bit. And wow, what a game. Oh my goodness gracious. So these are the player stats for us. And Lame Hatcher, man, absolute monster. 32 for 43, 457 and 7 touchdowns. Blackman in his final college game as well. 222 yards, 3 touchdowns in mop-up duty as well. So both quarterbacks impressive. 10 touchdowns. Let me know in the comments if y'all ever seen a game like this before. You know, outside of like maybe like the walk-on team builders. But Lang Jr. Got a touchdown as well off of 36 yards. Marcel Murray had 60 yards on the touchdown too. So we didn't run the ball a lot, but we were effective with it for the most part. Receivers, Leroy DeShower in his final game, he looked fantastic. 242 and 2 touchdowns. Foreman 963 and 2 tums. And then we also found Murray, Rucker, true sophomore by the way, Javon Haas, he scored. Trevelyan's Hunt scored. Oh, excuse me. Emmanuel Stevenson scored, and then Kaheem Waleed ended up scoring as well. So then as for tackling, you know, definitely more of a even slate in terms of tackling, because we did end up, you know, getting our backups in. Like I said, Terry Hampton and T.W. Ayers led the team with 7 tackles each. Sacks, we got to the quarterback a lot in this one. 5 sacks in this game. T.W. Ayers was a baller in this one. 2 sacks in the game. Also forced a couple of interceptions, courtesy of Sammy Johnson and Antonio Fletcher. Any fumbles? Okay, so we did also force 2 fumbles. And look at this. We got a field goal / punt block. And surprisingly, no defensive touchdowns. So, wow, that's pretty crazy. But, wow, what a way to end the season. An 85-14 victory. So this was a year in which we did end up breaking a couple of records. Murray ended up breaking this single season record for most rushing yards, 1394. Let's go ahead and see if we have anyone statistically in the top 5 in this one. You know, because of the season that we've had. Looks like Hatcher wasn't it, although it seems like Hatcher took a really good job taking care of the football. I mean, look at what Hatcher ended up doing. Only 2 interceptions from the entire season. I expect him to maybe try to declare early for the NFL draft. Would be really shocked if that didn't happen. Blackman was really good too, actually. 6 touchdowns, no picks. Marcel Murray, like I said, broke the school record, but Johnny Lang Jr. was good too. 673, 4 touchdowns. Wayne Hatchard also had multiple touchdowns on the ground. Receivers, nobody with a 1,000-yard season, it looks like, but Corey Rucker led the way, both catches and yards and touchdowns. So he was our best wide receiver across the board. But we had some good help. Javon Haas, he was balling. 673 and 9 touchdowns. DeShozer, 644 and 7 touchdowns. Foreman had over 500 yards. And then, you know, also got some good contributions from Reed Tyler, Marcel Murray. You know, he was a double threat at the running back position. So was Johnny Lang and Surveillance Hunt. So good job for our receivers. Blocking, our offensive line did a really good job blocking this year. Didn't allow a lot of sacks with the exception of Kyle Kelly. But he is just a freshman. So, you know, he'll grow into it eventually. Definitely have some growing to do with our offensive line. Hopefully they continue to get better. And then we had Fred Harvey, led the team in tackles this year. He ended up with 78. Anybody with a huge like sack season? Not really, but TW Ayers has 7.5. Not a lot of turnovers this season though. Antonio Fletcher did lead the team with 3, but really him and Sammy Johnson were the only guys with multiple INTs. We did force more forced fumbles. Kevon Bennett and Fred Harvey, did have multiple fumble recoveries. No defensive touchdowns this season. So, good statistical year. And we end the season on a high note. We do end up reaching 10 wins once again. Alright, so to my surprise, we actually didn't have anyone go to the NFL this year. I thought we would have a chance considering, we had a good set of guys here. Thought maybe, James Blackman could work himself in there, but that just didn't happen. So no NFL guys here for Arkansas State in season number 2, but it looks like we did at least get a new offensive coordinator. Yeah, so it looks like Skip Holtz, looks like the son of Lou Holtz, if I'm not mistaken. He's actually going to be our new offensive coordinator, but definitely has a lot to prove though. He is a D+ in prestige. We'll see where old Skip Holtz came from. I feel like he got fired. That's probably why I'm showing like 24 upgrades. And yeah, he was the head coach of Louisiana Tech. He actually did end up getting fired after a 1-11 season. So that's a massive yikes if I say so myself. But he does have 24 coaching upgrades, so he'll be a really good coordinator for us. So with that being said, we didn't lose anyone to the transfer portal. So that's good. We are gaining somebody in the transfer portal though. Charles Rawlins. He's a true freshman that played his first season at Iowa State. He did end up getting redshirted in his freshman campaign. Solid player. Doesn't do one thing really well, but he is pretty athletic for a tight end. So I am going to go ahead and admit this guy. He could be definitely a project player in our program. So with that being said, even though we still had somebody, come in through the transfer portal, we still have 10 scholarships to play with. And honestly, our team is still really young, but there's still a few players that I definitely want to try and bring in. First is Kevin Williams. He's the number 8 wide receiver in this class. He is a gem, and we have a lead on him, but Oklahoma and Alabama is still also interested in him. But that's not my main target. I really want to bring in Brian Smith. Dude is an absolute gem. 81 overall, can stick him at a bunch of different positions, halfback, running back, probably an offensive weapon for us here. Although he could be he can actually play, a lot of different positions on us. So that's why I'm really excited about him. He's the number 32 athlete in this class, but he can definitely surpass those expectations. We're the only one going after him, but you know how NCAA is sometimes. So I put most of my points into him because that's who I want the most. And then I do have a need at guard as well. So I put 4,200 into OJ Lewis. He's the 15th ranked guard in this class. He's a really good fit for our program. Can get him in, for playing time right away. We are in a recruiting battle though between us, San Jose State, Arizona State, and Central Michigan. I think we can pull it out, but the only way to find out is to get to signing day and see what we can do. So we lose out on both. Actually, we only lost out on Kevin Williams, but we do get Brian Smith and OJ Lewis as well. So that's going to be 2 really good pickups to really polish up our recruiting class. We also picked up a couple of depth pieces, even though we didn't put any points into them. David Greco and Ryan Horner. They might end up getting cut though, but we'll see what ends up happening with that. But we do end up signing the top recruiting class in the Sun Belt once again, and we fill our team needs, so we don't even have to worry about having any walk-ons join our team. Now, we did not sign a top 25 class once again, but let's see where we ended up. We ended up 28th. So really good for being in not a non-Power 5 conference, Sun Belt, not the most prestigious conference. I mean, they're not the worst, don't get me wrong. They could be the best non-Power 5 conference, could challenge the American next season in real life, but we signed a pretty good class, I think. 5 4 stars again, 7 3-star guys, and then 6 2-star guys. So definitely a solid class that I'm bringing in. Not to mention looking at some of these overalls that we ended up bringing into the building. I mean, just take a look at this. Brian Smith, he's a huge headliner. Ryan Coleman, he's really good as well. He's going to step in right away. He has to be our starting kicker, right? Because we kind of need that. But we also bring in O.J. Lewis, Jake Holt, Jeff Broussard, Greg Slaughter. So a really good class, I think. Definitely a lot of quality in here. I mean, even some of the 2-stars that we brought in, George Henderson's a prime example. He's a true freshman. And, you know, he was a 69 overall, borderline gem for us. And yeah, I'm just really excited about this recruiting class. But let's go ahead and go into position changes, because I feel like we definitely will need to make a few adjustments. All right, so first and foremost, we have to go ahead and decide where we're going to go ahead and put Brian Smith. He's either a running back or a wide receiver. So take a look at both rooms real quick. So he'll be our number 4 wide receiver here. What about well, he actually could start at running back. I know we did end up picking up Pierre Weaver, and he would have been our guy for the future. But I mean, you know, talent is talent at the end of the day. I'm going to put him at running back, and he can compete for that starting role. If he doesn't win in camp, like if Isaiah Azubuike and Lincoln Pear end up, you know, doing good enough in like training results, then, you know, he could always be redshirted. But, you know, definitely a really good running back. Definitely our fastest guy now. So yeah, he's definitely going to get some playing time at some point. If it's not in season 3, definitely in a later season. Another move that I think I'm going to make here is that I'm going to move Austin Woods over from left tackle to that right tackle position. He actually gets bumped up +1. And the reason I'm doing that is I only had 2 tackles to begin with. So Austin Woods gets a little bit of a boost, and he's going to compete with Nick Lewis for that starting right tackle job. We also do have our transfers from last season, ready to play. Jalen Gurf is ready to go, and then so is Tate Williams. So definitely going to see how they progress as well. Over on the defensive side of the football, what I want to go ahead and do is I'm going to make some adjustments to the linebacking core, moving Scott Martindale over to the right outside linebacker. And then I think for middle linebacker, I want my outer linebackers to be a little bit quicker. I think Trent Rodriguez would be a good fit over on that right hand side as well. So I have a little bit more depth over there as well. And then we'll take a quick look at our corners, see if we need to make any adjustments. And I think we're good here. We'll go ahead and check out the training results real fast. So we are extremely close to our first 99 on the Arkansas State team. Lane Hatcher, he gets up to a 98, but I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up getting himself to 99 at some point in the year. Look, the speed that he has is absolutely ridiculous. 79 speed, 92 excel, but he has 99 awareness too. He has a really good arm. Gonna be really hard to pick him off, especially when you have 2 good wide receivers in Corey Rucker and Jeff Foreman to throw to on the perimeter. Now, one thing that I'm interested in is the running back battle. Definitely a lot of good potential options, but definitely going to be a split backfield between Azubuike, Lincoln Pear, and Pierre Weber. So that athlete that we put over here, going to go ahead and redshirt because he'll be our 4th string guy. Wide receivers, Khalid Wild's looking good too. So we got a nice little top 3. Offensive line is looking better across the board. We only have 1 person under 80 overall, so quarterback's gonna have a ton of time, man. Defense, I think it's all 80s across. No, Dave Barnes ruined that, but he's a true sophomore. He'll grow into that role eventually. And then we got Sammy Johnson and Kenneth Harris at corner. Jarius Romanique going to be at free safety, and then Anthony Switzer at that strong safety. So looking pretty good across the board, man. I'm loving how this team is coming together. So this season, we only actually have to cut 3 players, and I already know 2 that I want to get rid of. Got to get rid of these 50 overalls. I mean, I did not recruit them. At least I didn't put points on them, for a reason. If they wanted to come, sure. But that just ain't happening. And then Kevin McKenzie, I mean, he's a guy. He's a guy. but he's just not a good enough run blocker, and having 62 impact blocking, that just ain't necessarily going to cut it either, so I'm going to cut him too. So cuts were really easy this year, considering we only had to cut a few guys to get down to 70 players this season, and I'm loving this team, man. We're looking really good across the board. Let's see if we can make some noise in year 3 and do a little bit better than what we did, with that 10-3 season that we had. So before we go ahead and do some simulating for year number 3, let's take a quick look at what our red shirts are going to be looking like, schedule and conference outlook, all of those things. We are redshirting Brian Smith. We thought he could win that starting running back job out of camp, but Azubuike, Lincoln Pear, and Pierre Weber, they all did their thing. So Brian Smith's going to be drowned on the depth chart. We're going to go ahead and redshirt him for the time being so that he can get a little bit more experience, in practice at tight end, since Charles Rollins was somebody that we got from Iowa State. He could not get a waiver, so he's actually going to be redshirt. So it's really just Emmanuel Stevenson and then also Dwayne White as our backup. So we're a little thin at tight end, but we'll make it work nonetheless. For the defensive side of football, got a little bit more red shirts. Cedric Woods is buried on the depth chart, 4th string guy. He's not going to see the field. And then same thing could be said for Chuck Brady and Josh Shelby. Just good to give them red shirts. Let the older guys take care of things on the defensive line. And then at the safety position, we did also redshirt true freshman Jake Holt. He'll be a stud one day, but as of right now, Jarius Riominke as well as Cam Jeffrey is going to take care of things ahead of him. He'll eventually get his shot, but for right now, he'll get that redshirt designation as well. So this is what our schedule is going to look like for Season 3, and this time around, we do not have any FCS opponents. We start off with a home game against Missouri. We beat them back in year 1, but then we take on Vanderbilt on the road, so 2 SEC teams. Then we have a 3rd road game against Oregon State. Then we have 2 bye weeks in a row before we go into Sun Belt Conference play. 4 road games in a row at Georgia Southern, Coastal Carolina, App State, and Southern Alabama. Before we wrap up with 5 home games in a row, Louisiana Monroe, Georgia State, Troy, Raging Cajuns, and Texas State to round out the season. So we'll have a lot of late visits, simply because we only have 1 home game before week 10, and that's our first game of the season against Missouri. So it's going to be an interesting recruiting challenge, given that our all of our visits going to be clumped up in one time. But hey, the great coaches find a way to make it work. But this year, we are going to come with some major expectations, as we are actually picked to win the Sun Belt, and doing so behind an elite offense. We got a 95 offense coming into this year, 85 defense as well. So we got a really good football team, 4-star program at this point, and really, it's not even close compared to what the other schools are doing. 1-star, App State is a 3-star program, but they're down there. They don't have that good of a defense. So if we don't win the Sun Belt this year, that is going to be a disappointment. But let's see if we can get ourselves into a New Year's 6 as well, because we haven't been to a New Year's 6 yet. Let's see if we can make that happen here in year number 3. Alright guys, so we end up getting to the end of the regular season for year number 3, and we are currently sitting in the top 10 right now. Now, we were extremely close to being in that conversation potentially to go to a national championship game, but look what ends up happening. Our rival Louisiana Monroe plays spoiler, and we lose to them 38-21. It's our only loss of the season. We do end up winning the Sun Belt once again, but definitely a tough look for our program. We could have been up there with Oklahoma and Notre Dame, but it just wasn't meant to be at the end of the day. So we'll have to see what bowl game that we do end up going to, but it'll be interesting because we are a top 10 team. But we'll see how much respect is given to the Sun Belt Conference, man. So I'll see you guys when we find out what bowl game that we get to go to. Alright guys, so it does end up seeming like we do get to go to a major bowl game. We are going to make the trip down to Miami, Florida to take on the North Carolina Tar Heels. They're number 6 in the nation, 11-2. We're 11-1 with an 8-1 conference record, so I'm certainly extremely excited for the challenge that lies ahead of us because North Carolina is a good football team. A- offense, A+ defense. We do have one of the best offenses in the country, number 2 in points per game with 41 points a game. Take a great job of turning over, not only creating turnovers, but taking care of the football ourselves. But this is going to be our toughest game all season long. You can see by our schedule, North Carolina is the only team that has double-digit wins on the schedule. They're more battle-tested, though. They are 2-1 against... Actually, no. They are 3-1 against ranked opponents. Their only loss was to Ohio State at the very beginning of the season. And since they're 11-1, so I'll see you guys on the field for the Orange Bowl. We'll see if we can win this bowl game. It would be the biggest win in school history if we can pull it off. Alright, boys, so we did end up winning the coin toss, and let's go ahead, get this thing underway down here at the Orange Bowl. Now, we did put up 85 points against our previous bowl opponent. I don't know if we'll be able to do that here. Much different game, actually. We're down 7-0 early. This North Carolina team, they are no joke. But we will end up responding ourselves. We end up tying this thing up. Actually tying a school record. You see that on screen. Hatcher does tie it up. That was his 37th passing touchdown of the season. So one more, and that will end up breaking the school record, and he just broke it. He breaks the school record in this game, man. Let's go, baby. And we also have a little bit of a lead here, but North Carolina, they're going to fight back. It's a back and forth affair. Down by 4 points. We're getting into the third quarter, and North Carolina just got another touchdown on the board, but we respond and get the 2-point conversion. Only down by a field goal. Come on, guys. Let's see if we can pull it out. We do. We got a 1-point lead. Come on, boys. Couple more minutes. Can we hold? Can we hold? And we do. Okay, we just end up winning the Orange Bowl, baby. 32-31. It was an absolute classic for us here, man. And this was a back and forth affair the entire time. I mean, just looking at the stats real quick, I mean, score was the same. First downs were similar as well. Again, having a really tough time running the football, but that's not our MO. We passed the ball a lot here at Arkansas State, almost 500 yards passing, and really the difference was, our ability to get third down conversions. We were 12 for 23, while North Carolina was 3 for 14, and hey, we found a way to win. We found a way to stay competitive, and biggest win in school history, baby. Not bad for our third season in this rebuild. So like I said, Lane Hatcher did end up setting the school record for most passing touchdowns in a single season. 471 free touchdowns and an interception. Lincoln Pear also did find his way into the end zone as well on the ground. He ended up with 71 yards and a touchdown. Receivers, we saw Akeem Hayes go off in this game, 13 for 183, 2 touchdowns. Corey Rucker was also special as well, 9 for 118, 1 touchdown to go with that for the receiving core. And then on the defensive end, Ethan Hasler did lead the team in tackles today. He ended up with 8 tackles with Jarius Romike. In his final collegiate game as well, he had 6 tackles. Only got 1 sack on the quarterback, though. That was Corbett Memes. That was able to get a sack. He had 3 other tackles in this one. No interceptions, but we did have a forced fumble from Anthony Switzer, who did also recover the fumble. So that was the only turnover that we forced in this game. We lost the turnover battle, but we did end up winning the game. And if we actually played it in full, it would be an ESPN Classic top 10 on the college football revamp. At least on my USBs, but good win, and we get to 12-1 to end year number 3. Alright, boys, so we do end up finishing number 4 in the final AP poll. We were pretty close to a national championship, but no cigar there. But I will certainly take an Orange Bowl victory. I don't know about you guys. I'm feeling pretty good about that, but I want to see if we have anyone in statistical categories. And look at this. Hatcher ends up being number 3 in passing yards in the NCAA. 3,752 yards passing. That's good for third, up there with Jordan Travis, Cade McNamara, David Brumfield of UNLV. He ended up leading it all with 4,500 yards of passing, but I'm glad we take third place. Unsurprisingly, don't have anyone for rushers. Corey Rucker was our leading wide receiver. He had 1,000 yards, but that was good for 21st. Simpson had 39. That was for 64th. Nobody more than 5 sacks on the team, so that's really interesting to see. And then Simon Johnson ended up tied for second place in the NCAA. He ended up with 6 total interceptions on this season. And then finally for kickers, let's go ahead and see what kickers have in store for us. Are we on the top 5 list? No, not even close. Only the longest was a 46-yarder. And that's good for 70 in the NCAA. But true freshman though, and to be right in the middle of the pack, I'll certainly take that. No complaints there. But I'll go ahead and go into the rest of the highlights for the offseason as we get ready for year 4. Alright, man, so we are out here in the offseason now, and surprisingly only had one pro this year. Jeff Foreman is going to be a projected 5th round pick, but biggest surprise here, man, is that Lane Hatcher, 98 overall guy. I don't know if it's just because he's undersized or what's going on, but he's not going to the NFL. 39 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and is going to go in undrafted potentially. That's wild to me. I feel like a guy like this, especially in today's NFL, would not be passed up. He'll be a 1st round pick today, no questions asked. So that's really interesting. And then we do have Matt McClain looking to go into the transfer portal, wanting to go to Central Michigan. We did end up redshirting him this season, but we can't convince him, so he's going to end up leaving for Central Michigan. On top of that, we do have some brand spanking new coordinators to work with. Caleb Turner, who you can see he's a level 1 coordinator, so this is his very first coaching job. And then we also have Andy Avalos coming in as our defensive coordinator. So both Nowinski and Holt have both bolted. We'll go ahead and check real quick and see if we can find out where our coordinators went. So Nowinski ends up being the head coach for FIU, and then Skip Holtz, he ends up being the head coach for Boise State. So 2 quality programs for sure. Can't complain about that. Actually, Skip Holtz has a pretty solid record. So we have 2 brand new coordinators to work with now. So we are now here in off-season recruiting, and we have 9 scholarships, and there's a lot of quality players that we can still go after to this point. First and foremost, really want to go after AJ Snyder, number 2 tight end in America in terms of the high school ranks, putting 2,900 into him. Rashawn Roth, he is an athlete with blistering speed. You saw that 94 speed. 42nd ranked athlete, putting 22 into him. And we got a nice lead on Oregon State. Let's make sure to close the deal on that. Jeff Smith, he's a defensive end. Really solid player all around, might need to work on his awareness a little bit, but that's it. 4-star guy from Oklahoma. Andrew Kerr, 4-star guy from Middleburg Heights, Ohio. He's a 25th ranked guy in his position, so I put some points into him. Same thing with Justin Perry, 4-star guy. Chris Green, the number 1 quarterback in this recruiting class. 75 overall, so not a great overall, but I put some points into him anyways. 1,200 points for him. And then finally, I put some points into Jared Alexander, 3-star wide receiver for Yazoo City, Mississippi. Guy, can fly around too. 92 speed. He can definitely burn some people on a go route. That's for sure. So I will catch you guys on signing day. See how many of these guys that we can actually bring to our program. So we get ourselves over to signing day real quick, and we only signed a couple of guys that we actually wanted to go after. Jeff Smith and Rashawn Roth did sign on the dotted line, but a lot of the guys that we went after did decide to go to different schools, and not how we wanted to finish, but we do once again finish with the top class in the Sun Belt, and we do also finish with a top 25 recruiting class this time around. So let's see how far up we are ranked, and this is despite the fact that we only signed 18 guys this season. So we do end up with the 22nd class. We're a 5-star school now in terms of prestige, so hopefully in year 4 we can start bringing in some 5-star players. We had a couple that were interested in us, but they were also kind of long shots for us to sign. Still had to deal with the blue bloods of college football, per se. But yeah, I'm feeling good about that. Got some great talent. PJ Harrison, he's our best player, 4-star athlete from the Village, Oklahoma. He's going to be a real good add. Sam Leake and Jeff Smith are going to be great in practice up against each other as well. But we're also bringing in Mike Waller, Brady Kay, Rashawn Roth. He's an athlete, so he could be in the low to mid 70s. You never know. Same thing for Greg Williams too. We've seen some athletes with some big jump. It's a good recruiting class, man. That's the benefit of coming into this year, frankly, with no team needs. So yeah, man, I'll cut you guys to position changes so that we can make some adjustments. Okay, so first and foremost, we did have 3 athletes come into the school, so we got to go ahead and make some adjustments there first and foremost. And definitely an offensive player, could put him either at wide receiver or the quarterback position. Now, we do only have 4 quarterbacks right now, a lot of them sophomores and juniors. Also, this will be the year that Aaron Rodgers takes over, so that's really cool. But we're looking pretty good over at the wide receiver position. I think he would be a 4th wide receiver. Meanwhile, quarterback, maybe a 3rd stringer, probably a 4th. So it's a tough decision out here. So I'm gonna go ahead and put him at wide receiver. Might bite me in the butt later. Moving on to Greg Williams though, and Greg Williams looks like a defensive lineman. And we're going to put him in center. So he gets a +2 bump there. He's up to a 71. And then Rashawn Roth, maybe a 70 halfback. Or, oh, he could be a safety. Oh, hang on now. Yeah, I'm feeling free safety. That would be a good look for us there. So, yeah, I got another quality free safety. We'll see if there's any other changes that I want to make. Okay, so I decided that I wanted to make one more change. And I think the change that I do want to go ahead and make is I want to move Austin Woods over from right tackle to right guard. He does take a -1 bump, but the reason I'm doing that, I got 2 seniors at the right tackle position. Nick Lewis is currently starting over him. I want to at least give him a chance to win an offensive line job. It'd be a battle between him and Daryl Harden, with Roy King desperately in the wings. And then for center, we got 4 offensive linemen, so might end up redshirting Greg Williams there. Meanwhile, on the defensive line, we actually have quite a few people on right end. So I'm going to move a couple of these guys over to the left end position here. Might move one more. Might move Terren Capel. So we'll move him up there. So that's looking good. Boom. Alright, so moving us into year number 4, this is what our roster is going to be looking like right now. Corey Rucker is going to be our best player. He's a 97 with Kakeem Waleed, a 93. Also got other NFL prospects like Kalen Gerv, Lincoln Pear, and like Tate Williams, Cam Jeffrey, Isaiah Azubuike. Going to be looking like a pretty solid group of guys. Quarterback's going to be interesting though. Aaron Rodgers is taking over. He's a sophomore redshirt. Remember, we did end up signing him in, I believe, the year 1 recruiting class. And, 91 accuracy, 86 throw power. Ready or not, he's going to be the new starting quarterback. Definitely some big shoes to fill as well. But I'm sure he's going to be ready for that opportunity. Looking at our offensive line real quick, it's really starting to come together. Guys, for the most part, in mid to high 80s. So the offensive line, going to be looking real solid up front. Defensively, 4-3 set. Got some good linemen. Linebackers are certainly growing up. And then the defensive backfield is solid. We don't really have a weakness on our teams in terms of starters. If we can stay healthy, we're a pretty well-rounded team. So because we didn't really have anyone leave our program necessarily, we got 9 cuts that we need to make. And of course, Roy King got to be the first to go. I wasn't really going after him. He just kind of ended up here. It is what it is. So I'm going to cut. Well, I can't cut that middle linebacker. He has to stay. But Aaron McKinney, he's a bust. He's going to go. And then Omar Gibson. I don't need a second fullback. So I don't know how he got there. But he got there nonetheless. DJ Weaver. What's quarterback looking like real quick? we can get away with cutting him. That's fine. We'll go ahead and run with 3 quarterbacks, and then we also I'm gonna cut Tim Gay as well. He's gonna go. He's a sophomore, not very impactful to be honest. Quincy Watkins, you gotta go. Dante Clement, you gotta go as well. And then last 2 cuts that I do want to go ahead and make is I want to cut Derek Cochran, and then got a lot of 68s here. I'm gonna actually cut this sophomore. He's a 70. So I don't know if he'll ever end up playing. I'm feeling pretty good at the tight end position. So this is what our final roster is going to be looking like. Let's check out the schedule for year 4, as well as the guys that are going to end up getting the red shirt. Alright guys, so this is what our schedule is looking like for year number 4. And to be honest with you, it was, I'm really excited about this year. We get some respect. We are in the top 25 in terms of preseason polls. And in touch, we're playing 2 other teams in the preseason top 25, Syracuse and Auburn. Going to round out non-conference with a game against FCS Northwest, so like a North Dakota State or something like that. And then we have our Sun Belt Conference play. I don't think anyone on the Sun Belt is in the top 25 this year besides us, so we are going to be expected to win the conference again. And that being said, we gotta do some things early on in the season, because after week 10 we will not be able to have any visits. So that's gonna be a unique challenge, but we'll see if we can go undefeated this year and finally see if we can finally make a national championship appearance. But another caveat about our football team this season is that we're not gonna have too many red shirts. Greg Williams will be one of our red shirts. He was an athlete that we moved over to center. He's on the 4th string on the depth chart right now, so we're going to let him sit for the year, let him learn and develop. Also getting the red shirt is Jeff Smith, true freshman. Love his upside, but Denard Flowers is in front of him right now, and gotta let him get his run. Jeff Smith will be really good for the future. And then finally at free safety, we do have Rashad Roth, who ended up being a 73. He was an athlete as well, but still a 4th string guy. And we do have Cam Jeffrey, who is a potential NFL player playing this season. So gonna let him run as well. And then we'll have an interesting battle at free safety, I think, when the offseason does come around. So with that, we end up here in number 14 in the preseason poll, and with bigger results comes with bigger expectations, but I think we can do it. We're looking pretty good across the board. 97 offense, 90 defense. The key is, can Aaron Rodgers, our new quarterback, be able to handle those expectations? He's got a good team around him. He's just got to play, his part. Even if he was just a game manager this year, that's okay, because we got the guys around him to be successful. But only way to find out is to get it done on the field. We'll see if this is the time that we get to go undefeated and finally make ourselves a national champion, or at least make an appearance there, because we still haven't done that yet. We'll see if we can get it done. Alright guys, so we do end up getting to the end of the regular season for year number 4, and for Arkansas State, we finished 11-1 once again. We do end up winning the Sun Belt Conference, but we don't lose to Syracuse, who's in the top 25. We didn't lose to Auburn, who was a preseason top 25 team. Oh no, we actually ended up losing to Georgia Southern. Now, Georgia Southern was ranked, and they were a solid team this year, finishing 9-3. Syracuse had a really disappointing year. 3-9 was their record for this season. But that being said, we are going to be left out of the college football playoff once again. So definitely some tough luck for us here in this rebuild, but we should get to a really good bowl game still. So let's go ahead and check out, see where we're gonna end up going for a bowl game. Hopefully it's a good one. Alright guys, so we are back at the Capital One Orange Bowl, and this time we're going to be taking on the Florida State Seminoles. They finished number 4, 11-2 record, 9-1 in the ACC. Now, typically what I would do is Florida State should be in the college football playoff under these circumstances, but I cannot get the playoff utility to work on my Xbox, unfortunately, but should still be a really good matchup, and I'm really looking forward to, playing these guys. Basically a home game for Florida State since it's in the state of Florida. But enough talk about that. I'll see you guys on the field to see if we can win yet another bowl game against this ACC power. Alright boys, so we're down here in the Orange Bowl, and we do actually lose the coin toss, so we get the ball to start this game. Let's go ahead and get this thing going. Let's see if we can pull the upset off on the Florida State Seminoles, but not off to a, that great of a start. We're already down 7-0. And the big thing for us is we're not going to have that star quarterback that we're going to be able to go ahead and lean on. It's going to have to be truly a team effort for us to go ahead and win this game. And right now we're keeping it close early. We're up 14-10. Make that 17-14, baby. Okay. But Florida State does respond right before the end of the first half. We do as well. So a really close game so far. Only up by a field goal, but Florida State starting to show its strength on both sides of the football. They came in 99s across the board, by the way. So, hey, we're certainly playing them tough right now, but looks like the Seminoles might be pulling away. It's not looking good for us. Another touchdown on the board for Florida State. We're down by 17. We're trying to fight back. We certainly do not have any quit in us. Another touchdown. Make that 55. We had a 50 burger dropped on our heads, and that is going to wrap it up. We do not win the Orange Bowl this time around. We lose to Florida State by a score of 55-38. So we had a lot of points scored on us. And the crazy part is Florida State didn't even have that much total offense. We actually beat them in terms of that. And they couldn't really run. Well, they ran the football really well. 300 yards passing. We won with the passing yards. But what really killed us in this game was turnovers. We had 3 interceptions in this game. That's just not going to cut it. At the end of the day, we also lost the time of possession as well to go with it. So, it's a valiant effort for our guys, but it just wasn't enough to bring the Orange Bowl trophy home. So this was the first year that Aaron Rodgers did get the chance to start at quarterback this season. And listen, he was a gunslinger. 4 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions as well. He at least pushed the ball downfield, averaged, well over 10 yards a attempt. So I can't even be mad at it, but, hopefully you can get those interceptions down as he grows more mature as a quarterback. He did find the end zone on the ground, though. Ended up with 27 yards and a touchdown. Receivers have 2 100-yard receivers, actually. Kaleem Lawid, his final collegiate game, 133 and 2 touchdowns. Akeem Hayes also scored. He ended up with 116 yards receiving in this one. And then Omari Walker actually did also catch a touchdown pass. He only had 2 catches, though. 1 for 62, so, decent little game for 2 catches. Now, for the defense, we are led today by Denard Flowers, who led the team in tackles by a long shot. 11 tackles, 3 TFLs, and a sack. Todd Simpson and Ethan Hasler also led the way with 7 tackles apiece. Denard Flowers was also the only person to get a sack today. Now, not only was he the only person to get a sack, really the only person with, too many negative plays, I would think. He's the only one that had multiple TFLs. We did not force any turnovers in this game, and like I said, those turnovers were a massive difference, and that was a big reason why we lost this Orange Bowl here. Checking out the stats for our guys over the course of the season, though, and this is a little bit of a transition year for us, to be honest, as we had 3 different quarterbacks play for us over the course of the year because of the fact that we had so many injuries at quarterback. Thankfully, it's a nice little room. Wyatt Bengal did have the most yards, but he only had a little more than 1,000 yards. Everyone did do a pretty good job of taking care of the football. Aaron Rodgers, he had 3 interceptions in the Orange Bowl, but he was very clean with the football. Every other game that he did end up making an appearance in. Rushing, we did have a 1,000-yard rusher, Isaiah Azubuike. Ended up with 12 touchdowns, 1268 on the ground. Lincoln Pear ended up with 877 and 7 touchdowns. And then also had Aaron Rodgers, get some runs. Same thing with Brian Smith. So running game did a really good job of carrying our offense this season. It was something that we certainly needed. Rushing game, no, receivers, Corey Rucker, a little bit of a down year. This is his worst year since his freshman campaign, actually, but he does end up breaking some school records, for total receiving yards and touchdowns. 39 touchdowns and 3,200 yards over his career. Akeem Hayes was good too, 701 for 8. Waleed, 719 for 6 touchdowns. And then Emmanuel Stevenson also found the end zone 5 times. He was a pretty solid red zone threat for us as well. And Lincoln Pear as well did some things in the backfield. For our offensive line, something that I was really proud of was how good our offensive line this year, but our three of our top 5 pancake dudes are going to be graduating after this season, so gonna have to revamp this offensive line a little bit as we go into the off season. So that's something to think about going into the last year of this rebuild challenge. And then Tom Sampson led the team in tackles this year, 65 tackles, 6 TFLs though. Ethan Hazler wasn't too far behind, 62 tackles in his final collegiate season. Corbett Memes did have the most TFLs of anyone else on the team and the most sacks, so he had 7.5 sacks. Nobody else had more than 5 sacks on the team, so we need somebody to step up as a pass rusher for us for sure. And then Cam Jeffrey and Kenneth Harris tied for the lead on this team with 3 interceptions. Antoine Fegans also had multiple INTs to go with it as well. As for the fumbles, we got a lot of forced fumbles this year, actually. Chris Brown and Kenneth Harris forced multiple fumbles. Cam Jeffrey was also a nice little man who, found the football, 2 fumble recoveries on the year, and we had 2 defensive touchdowns. Cam Jeffrey and Antoine Fegans brought it home for us. So, a good season for Arkansas State despite the injuries, and we'll see if we can finally get over that last hump and get to a national championship game finally. Alright, so one nice thing about this offseason so far is that we do not have anyone leaving through the transfer portal. We don't have any new coaches, but we do have 4 guys going to the NFL. Corey Rucker, he's going to be a projected first-round pick, definitely deserves that. But then also Kaleem Walid, Jalen Gerf, and Cam Jeffrey are going to the NFL. So 4 pros from Arkansas State, 3 of which are going to be day 3 picks, but Corey Rucker, first round pick, super pumped about that, and that's going to really build the prestige of this program and make things a little bit easier in recruiting. Speaking of recruiting though, let's go ahead and take a quick look at off-season recruiting, and we only have 4 scholarships left. We did a really good job of signing some players, bringing in guys like Justin Smith, Jay Davis. You can see some real talent in this recruiting class for sure, which I'm super pumped about, but we could still add on to it and be special for sure, man. First guy I'm going after, Josh Sullivan. He's a 4-star defensive tackle from Springfield, Missouri. He's mainly a run stopper, and he is a gem too. He is a gem guy, and we're the only school going after him. I'm going to put 4,600 into him so we can make sure we put some distance in case an SEC team does jump in at the last second. Another person we're looking at is 4-star athlete Marlon Billings. He's a 39th ranked athlete in this recruiting class right now. 89 speed guy, also a gem. Nebraska and Florida State, who we just lost to in the Orange Bowl, they are looking to bring him in as well. They're certainly interested. We still are the only school to bring in a scholarship. Speaking of athletes, we also are looking hard at Conrad Reyes, 31st ranked athlete in this recruiting class. Dude has 90 speed. He's a burner. Maybe more of an offensive weapon because his zone coverage is hot garbage. But it's only a 2-way recruiting battle between us and Memphis. Let's see if we can bring that home. And finally, the last person that I wanted to bring in is Jason Wong. He's a 3-star wide receiver, a speed guy. Got some good solid speed, needs to work on his ability to, catch in traffic, and especially when there's bodies around him for sure. But, gonna be a solid add, could be a depth piece for sure as we prepare for the final season. So, that being said, let's go ahead and see if we can get all of these 4 guys that I want. so that we can have our first 25-man class. Okay, guys, so we end up signing 3 out of the 4 players that we wanted to go ahead and target, with the exception of Jason Long, who did opt to go to Iowa. Not that big of a deal, but look at this. We signed a top 5 class in the country. We also stole a prospect as well somehow. So we do end up getting those 25 guys that we want. So yeah, this is our best recruiting class that we have brought in this rebuild. I mean, look where we are, number 5. Really, what really held us back is we did not get any 5-star players. But that being said, you know, we're up there with Ohio State, Georgia, Oregon, Florida. We're even beating teams like Texas A&M, Tennessee, Miami, Texas, blue blood programs. And we have out-recruited them, so a great job by us, bringing in some quality football players in. And I cannot wait to see how this team's turned out. I would not be shocked if we're close to 99s across the board here. So since we did end up bringing in a couple of athletes, we do need to make some position change adjustments just to see where guys should end up going. And this guy's either a wide receiver or a halfback. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on with that backfield as well as wide receiver. Now, one thing that I do want to do is go ahead and make sure that we're using these guys as good as possible, since this is going to be our final year. So we're moving him over to a wide receiver. Am I gonna do the same? Oh, he could be a decent little quarterback. Yeah, 74, no problem. So we'll have 2 quarterbacks there, so we won't even have to worry about bringing in a quarterback in the next recruiting class, as long as all of these guys stay on the team. Another adjustment that I think I am going to make is on the offensive line as well. Got 2 guys over at left tackle. I'm going to go ahead and slide him over to that right tackle position, so that our tackles, we're 3 deep on both the left-hand side as well as the right-hand side as well. In addition, what I'm also going to do as well is move Justin Smith, who is a 4-star linebacker. I'm going to actually move him over to left outside linebacker. And the reason that I'm doing that is mainly so that we're 3 deep there as well. Dave Sparrows will be starting, but, Justin Smith can be a potential guy in waiting for us here as well. So the final training results here in this rebuild, and we have some high quality players in this program. Lincoln Pear is going to lead the way. A lot of senior redshirts, guys that we did redshirt early on. They now are really coming up through the program. Guys that we've recruited, we did a pretty solid job recruiting, all things considered. Yeah, this is really a quality looking football team. Looking good across the board. Aaron Rodgers is a 91 to this point and has decent mobility as well. We have 3 running backs in the 90s, so we can really run the football extremely well if we wanted to. Wide receiver, even though 2 of our guys went to the NFL, the receiving core is still looking good, so I do love that. Offensive line, got some dudes across the board. Might be a little weak at right guard, but the rest of the line is going to look fantastic. Corbett Means is elite. Denard Flowers could be an NFL prospect, and Chris Brown certainly should be an NFL prospect as well to go with it. Linebackers are looking good. Top Simpson is a star. Might be a little light at cornerback, so the pass defense might be a little bit questionable, but we'll find a way to work through it. But solid team across the board, and we'll have to see what kind of cuts that we do need to make. All right, guys, so there is 8 players that we do need to cut from this roster, and we're gonna cut from the bottom. I know this is something that I've said multiple times already, but because this is our last year, we really gotta focus in on bringing in, having the best 70 players for one last run. One last ride is what I'm looking for, as some of these 64 guys, at this point aren't going to be really helping us out all that much. So yeah, they're going to get going here. I'm really liking, how this roster has really stacked up for us over the course of the year. Phil Kent, I'm going to go ahead and cut. So that's going to be our 70. Got a ton of 90 overall guys going into this upcoming season. We'll go ahead and check out the schedule, and then I'll see you guys there when we complete the regular season. Alright guys, so this is our year 5 schedule going into this season, and if there's a year where we're going to have to get that natty, it has to be this year. We got an F strength of schedule, starting off with FCS Southeast, Old Dominion, and rounding out Sun Belt Conference play with a road game against Auburn. Then we'll go on the road, 4 road games in a row. Georgia Southern, Coastal Carolina, App State, and South Alabama. Follow that up with 5 home games in a row. We'll have Louisiana Monroe, Georgia State, Troy, the Raging Cajuns, and then round out our regular season for Texas State. I do want to see how high of an overall we ended up being since we are in year 5. And then I'll see you guys at the end of the regular season. Alright guys, so we enter this season as the number 16 team in the country. So another year that we are in the preseason top 25 poll. We are not 99s across the board, but we do have a really darn good football team. 95 overall, a 97 offense, and a 93 defense to go with it as well. So, we may not be up there in that top 10, top 5, but that being said, don't sleep on us, man. We can very much be a dark horse team to win the national championship. We just got to go ahead and prove it. That's all that matters to us right now. Alright guys, so we are now here at the end of season number 5, and here we are with Arkansas State. We end up winning the Sun Belt once again. We do not have to share with anybody. We finished with an 8-1 conference record. We did end up with a couple of losses this season, though. We actually had a 2-game losing streak. We lost to both Auburn and Georgia Southern on the road, but, we were able to get ourselves together for, the last 2/3 of the year, end up with a 8-game winning streak to end it. There is no conference championship game still for the Sun Belt, but interesting spot for us, though, is we'll go ahead and peek into the top 25 polls real quick. We are actually number 3 in the country. We are only behind Florida and North Carolina. Now, North Carolina does not have a conference championship game, but the Florida Gators do. And they're taking on the number 10 ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. So, and then also Wisconsin does have a conference championship game as well. So, I'm thinking if with both Washington as well as the Florida Gators, they end up losing their conference championship games, I think we'll be able to punch our ticket into the national championship game. But you know what? That being said, we'll go ahead and sim both games to see if we can get Lady Luck on our side. And Florida does end up winning, so they will punch their ticket in. Now, just for shits and giggle, we'll see if the same could happen. Will USC pull the upset? They do. So, unfortunately for us, I do end up thinking that we will be left out. We're going to finish number 3. And again, playoff utility, can't work it on the Xbox. So, it's going to be close, but no cigar, it looks like. We'll just have to see what ends up happening in terms of what bowl we get to go to. Alright guys, so for our final game of this rebuild, we are going to be making a trip to the All-State Sugar Bowl, and we're going to be taking on another group of 5 team. We are taking on the Cincinnati Bearcats. Bearcats are number 10 in the country despite the fact that they are 9-3. So a top 4 finish for Arkansas State, but we're just going to be outside. We are not going to win a national championship, but we can still go ahead and finish strong. We are heavily favored on paper at the very least. Got a better team, but Cincinnati has performed better on offense. I guess doing a little bit more with less, but we can still finish this thing strong. Let's see if we can go ahead, go out there, and win the All-State Sugar Bowl for Arkansas State. Alright boys, so we are here in the All-State Sugar Bowl, and we get the ball to start this thing. So let's see if we can take care of business and finish this rebuild strong. Let's go ahead and take care of business against the Cincinnati Bearcats. But off to a pretty slow start though. We're actually down 10-0 early. We're starting to find a little bit of rhythm here in this first quarter. We do end up responding with 17 unanswered points of our own, so we will end up taking a 17-10 lead. But it's definitely been a more competitive game than I was anticipating, but it looks like we are starting to pull away a little bit here, as we do now have a 2-touchdown lead, and taking that into the locker room as well. So now up 24-10 in this second half. Cincinnati trying to will themselves to victory, but that being said, I think we're just a better team on paper. We did a fantastic job recruiting over the years, just could never get over that hump, to be honest. We just could never get that done, unfortunately. Could not bring national championship home, but ending it on a Sugar Bowl, though, I certainly won't complain. We end up winning 31-10 in this one. So, Butch Jones having a good career at Arkansas State. We'll check those team stats real quick just to see how this game really shook out. And we held Cincinnati to under 400 yards of total offense. We had 412. They had 125 on the ground, 257 in the air. We had 288 with 124 on the ground. 4 rushing touchdowns, by the way, so we'll take that. Did struggle on third down conversions, had 3 turnovers. We did force a couple ourselves, and we won time possession, and we were less penalized. So, either way, took care of business against the Bearcats, and we will finish year number 5 11-2. So in the Sugar Bowl, it was a really tough one, as Aaron Rodgers ends up going 30 for 58, 288 and 2 interceptions. Did not throw a touchdown pass. He did have one on the ground, though, with 35 yards, but this was really Brian Smith's day on offense. 19 for 80, 3 touchdowns. He was the Sugar Bowl MVP without any shadow of a doubt. Brian Smith also had over 100 yards receiving, so 3 touchdowns on the ground plus 100 yards in the passing game. That's a really versatile back. Loved having this kid on my football team for sure. And defensively, we were really stout, only allowing 10 points. That's really good. Having one of the best defenses in college football. Just couldn't prove in that national championship game. Scott Johnson led the team in tackles. He had 9 in this one. Flowers had 8 total tackles. Same thing with Keith Rudolph. We also got to this quarterback a couple of times. Chris Brown and Todd Simpson both ended up with sacks, also forcing 2 interceptions. Justin Parks in his final collegiate game, and John Thomas with 1. But yeah, great game by our defense. Very fundamental. Really shut down Cincinnati, as we can now call ourselves the champions of the Sugar Bowl. So I don't know how I feel about the success of this little rebuild that we had going on, because at one hand, we did a pretty good job overall. 4 Sun Belt championships, 2 appearances to the Orange Bowl, a Sugar Bowl championship in year 5, but just could never have gotten over the top. We could not win a national championship with Arkansas State within 5 years. Just kept getting thwarted in Sun Belt Conference play for whatever reason. But good rebuild overall. We ended up 55-10 in this one. And honestly, I hope you guys did enjoy this rebuild here. If you did, stop and smash that like button. Hit subscribe as well if you have to be brand new to the channel as well. Let me know down in the comments below what team you would like me to see rebuild in the future using the current 2021 NCAA rosters. I do also have a poll up on my community tab that dropped the same time that this video is going to drop. So if you can let me know with the community tab poll what team you want to see me rebuild next, that would be awesome. But with that being said, I'm going to sign off, but I'm hoping you're all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.